Hey everyone, how are you? I'm Heather. This is part 2 in my beginner yoga series. In part 1, we went over Sun A's, Sun Salutation A. So in part 2, we're going to go over, you guessed it, Sun B's. Sun B's start with chair pose. So we'll get started right away. Come to the front edge of your mat. And if you don't have a mat, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You don't need it for this. Just like when you're setting up your Tadasana, your mountain pose, which I talked about in the first video, when you set up your chair pose, pay attention to your feet. And this applies not just in mountain pose or chair pose, it applies for all standing poses. Check in with your feet. Check out your feet. Set your feet so they're even. And you can work with your big toes together and a little bit of space between your heels. But you can also work with your feet about hips width distance apart. So you can play around with that. What feels better for you? What feels steadier, more stable? I like my feet together. Once you have set your feet, bend your knees, sit down. Don't just sit down and start to sit back. So if you can see my feet, when I start to sit down and back, my toes pop up. That's okay if that happens. Just lightly bring your toes back down again. You're sitting down, you're sitting back, and you're bringing the weight of your body into your heels. Now, it's a balance, right? Even with 2 feet on your mat, it's a balance. Sitting down, sitting back, but if you sit too far back, you'll fall over. So play around with that, your balance. Set your feet, bend your knees, sit down, sit back. Draw your low belly in and up, and then you can work with your hands up, with your upper arms up around your ears, but you can also bring your hands to your heart or to your hips or alongside you. If you take your hands up, what you'll notice is it's more work. Your heart rate starts to pick up a little bit. You might feel it in your low back. Pay attention to that. Ease into it. If you're newer to the practice, or even if you're not, ease into it. Feel your way into this. So that's our chair pose. In Sun B's, we also have the warriors. Warrior 1. In some practices, that might be all you do is chair pose with a flow and then warrior 1s. I like warrior 1, warrior 2, and a reverse warrior. So we'll go through all of that as well. Let's set up a warrior 1. Right foot forward, left foot back behind you. How far back? Feel it out. You can be pretty generous with the space you have between your feet front to back, but you still want to maintain your balance. 2 feet on your mat, grounded, supported. With your right foot forward, right foot is straight, flat, toes soft, and then you might take your right foot just a little to your right. Let your back toes point towards the front left corner of your mat, or if you don't have a mat, just let your back toes point forward a bit. When you make these adjustments with your feet, if you bring your hands to your hips, you'll find you can even out your hips. Let your right hip come back a little bit and your left hip come forward. Now your front knee is over your front ankle. You can always back off from that point. Back leg is active and engaged. Just like in your chair pose, you can take your hands high. You can work with your hands at your heart or at your hips. Let's try the other side. Switch your feet. Step your left foot forward, just so you can get a sense of what it feels like on both sides. Front foot flat, straight, maybe a little to your left. Right foot, I'm going to walk my right foot back a little more. Right toes pointing a little bit forward. Left knee over left ankle. You can back off from that point, but pay special attention. If your knee starts to come forward over your toes, that's a pretty good indicator that you can creep your front foot a little more forward, that you can take a longer stance. So go for it. Take up a little more space. Low belly draws in and up, so you're supporting your low back. Hands at your heart, at your sides, or take your hands up overhead. If you take your hands up overhead, let your shoulders be soft here. All right, so chair pose, warrior 1. Warrior 2. Come back to your warrior 1. I'm going to face this way. Set it up with your right foot forward. When I teach this series, we move from a warrior 1. You can take your hands up and then come right into a warrior 2. So that transition, from hips and shoulders facing forward to hips and shoulders facing the side. And a lot of stuff happens with the feet. You can take a longer stance, still keeping your front knee over your front ankle. Remember, you can always back off from that point. Back toes a little more towards the side instead of forward. Back leg active and engaged. Now when you feel your back foot, or when you take a look at your back foot, just notice if the back toes are pointed behind you. That's going to make it really uncomfortable. So again, back toes towards the side, maybe a little bit forward. Hands can reach front to back, but you can also bring your hands to your heart or to your hips. Let's stay in this warrior two and go right to reverse warrior. You keep the alignment of your feet and your legs. Spin your front palm to the sky, your right palm to the sky, and then start to take your right arm up and go back. As the right arm goes up and back, the left hand can land lightly on the back leg. Here in your reverse warrior, there really is this quality of lifting up and then going back. So you create all this space, or you access all this space in your right side body, your intercostal muscles. When you breathe in, you might feel, and then breathe out, that expansion. Keep the bend in your front knee and keep your shoulders soft. All right, nice work. Let's go through warrior two and reverse warrior on the left, and then we'll put it all together. So come back to your warrior one with your left foot forward. Set that up. A little bit of space right to left between your feet. Feet flat, toes soft, deep bend in your front knee. Take your hands up just for a breath in. And then that transition to your warrior two. Walk your feet a little farther apart or a lot farther apart. Feel that you're opening in your warrior two. You're taking up more space. You might notice, especially if your hands are reaching front to back, you might notice if you're leaning forward over that front thigh. Feel if you can come to center and track your shoulders over your hips. Stay connected through your feet, strong through your legs. Spin your left palm to the sky, and then take your left hand high to reverse your warrior. Right hand can come to the back leg. If you like, you can bring your right hand to your low back. You might even slide around and find the top of the front thigh. The tendency as you come into the reverse warrior is to pull out of the bend in the front knee. Notice that, sink back into your front knee. Keep that bend in your front knee so you can focus on this lift through the side body. Feel your fingers are active, shoulders soft, and then come on out of it. Nice work, everyone. So, how do we put it all together? In a flow class, in a vinyasa class, vinyasa means flow, we link these poses with a vinyasa. Vinyasa means flow, and you probably have seen that there are yoga classes that are called vinyasa yoga classes. But vinyasa also refers to a small piece of the flow. Your high push-up to low push-up, upward dog to downward dog. And that's how we're going to link the chair pose to the warrior ones to put this whole Sun B together. Before we even go there, I want to show you some ways that you can adapt the flow if the vinyasa doesn't work for you. And if you're not really sure about the vinyasa, check out the first part of my beginner series because we cover that in the Sun A's. So we'll start in a chair pose, and then we'll move through a vinyasa, and from downward dog, we'll step our right foot forward to warrior one. Sometimes when you're in downward dog and you step your foot forward, your foot only comes about halfway up your mat. Not a big deal. Set your feet, stand up, not enough space between your feet. Just take that front foot more forward. From one side to the other, we do that vinyasa, high-low push-up, upward dog to downward dog. If it doesn't work for you, from one side to the other, simply switch your feet. And then you can add in that last vinyasa or just find your own way back to downward dog, which is where we'll take a couple of breaths. Now, if the vinyasa doesn't work for you at all, you can come into chair pose, and it's as simple as stepping one foot back to come into warrior one, stepping forward, stepping the other foot to come back to warrior one, And then either staying at the front of your mat in chair or maybe a ragdoll, or taking one vinyasa to get back to downward dog or child's pose. All right, so let's put that all together so you can see what it looks like, so you can feel what it's like, and so you can start to feel what works for you. We'll do one Sun B with just Warrior 1 on the right and the left, and then we'll do another Sun B with the Warrior 2 and the Reverse Warrior. And we'll move through it at a not vigorous pace. How's that? Set your feet, bend your knees, sit down, sit back, hands at your heart or hands up overhead, chair pose. Take a really deep breath in here and a breath out. Take another big inhale, exhale, fold forward. You can soften your knees as you fold. Find your flat back, your halfway lift. Bring your hands to your mat. Here is your vinyasa. Step back to your high push-up, knees lifted or lowered. Forward and halfway down or all the way down for your low push-up. Now, upward facing dog. Maybe you work with a cobra or a low cobra variation. Exhale. Come on back to your downward facing dog. From here, step your right foot to your right thumb, spin your back foot flat, and come on up for your Warrior 1. Now remember, if that front foot doesn't come all the way forward or as forward as you would like, then take a couple steps and take up some space. Let your hands reach high or work with your hands at your heart. Together, let's take a deep breath in and a long breath out. Take a breath in and a breath out. Nice. Take one more big inhale. As you exhale, bring your hands back to your mat. Step your right foot back. Here's the vinyasa, high push-up, forward and down, low push-up. You can drop your knees or come all the way down. Upward dog, a cobra or a low cobra. Back to your downward facing dog. Now, step your left foot up. Left foot to your left thumb. That's a pretty good guideline, just so that you have enough space. Spin your back foot flat. Come on up. Notice as you come up, if you're a little wobbly, I almost lost my balance there. Check in, feel if you need to adjust your feet. Start by feeling your feet. Find a place for your hands. Feel your breath. Take a big inhale and a long exhale. Feel if you can engage through your back leg. Draw your low belly in and up. Take another deep breath in here. Now as you exhale, hands come down to your mat. Left foot steps back. High push-up. Knees lifted or lowered. Forward and down, low push-up. If you want, you can come all the way down. An upward dog, this is a cobra. This is a great option. And then back to your downward dog or your child's pose. We'll take a couple of breaths here. Downward dog or child's pose. So check in with your body. Check in with your breath. Take a big breath in. Then a long breath out. Take another deep inhale. As you exhale, walk or jump to the front of your mat. And you can take as many steps as you need to make your way forward. Set your feet. Find your flat back. Fold forward. Inhale. Come up to your chair pose, your Utkatasana. Pause again. Feel that you're sitting down, you're sitting back. At the same time, your heart is lifting up, hands higher at your heart. Take another deep inhale here. Fold forward, exhale. Find your halfway lift, big breath in. Now, hands to your mat, step your feet back. High push-up, setting up for your vinyasa. Forward and halfway down, low push-up. You can come all the way down. Upward dog, cobra or low cobra. Exhale, back to your downward facing dog. Let your heels soften a bit here, let your head hang. Step your right foot to your right thumb, spin your back foot flat. Warrior 1, come up. Feel that you have your balance, that you're grounded. Feel if you can reach a little higher, and then add in your Warrior 2. Adjust your feet. Feel if you can take even a little more space with your feet. Walk your front foot. Is that a half an inch, maybe a quarter of an inch forward? Doesn't have to be a lot of space, but take up a little more space than usual maybe. Hands and arms long, about shoulder height. Let your shoulders be soft. Long and strong through your back leg. Spin your right palm to the sky and reverse your warrior. Let your right arm go up and back, left hand to your back leg or on your low back. Notice if you've come out of the bend in your front knee. Keep reaching up and back, but sink back in. Now take a big breath in here, and as you exhale, bring your hands all the way down to your mat. Step your right foot back. High push-up. Forward and down, low push-up. Upward facing dog. Back to your downward facing dog. From here, step your left foot forward. Come on into your warrior one. Rise up. Check in with your feet, check in with your breath. And maybe even after just these couple of sun Bs, right, you might notice your heart rate is up a little bit. That's okay. Feel that you're awakening your body. You're awakening your energy. Take a breath in here. Open out to your warrior two. This is where it is nice to have a mat because you can get a sense of, am I using just a little piece of my mat, or am I spreading out, opening up, taking up more of my mat? Feel your back foot flat on your mat. You might even feel for rolling the baby toe side of your back foot down and then lifting through your back leg. Hands about shoulder height. Spin your left palm to the sky. And then reverse your warrior. Take your left hand up and back. You might find you can walk your front foot a little bit more forward. Sink into your front knee. Deep breath in. And a long breath out. And then take one more big inhale. As you exhale, bring your hands down to your mat. Step back to your high push-up. Now, I'm going to move through my vinyasa, but you could skip that and just press right back to your downward facing dog. And then we wind up at the end of our sun B in downward dog or child's pose. Take a big breath in. Open your mouth, empty out. Great job, you guys. Thanks for joining me for this practice. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. I would love to hear from you. I'd love your comments. What did you like about the video? What didn't you like about the video? What do you want to see more of? What can I share with you? I'm Heather. I'm the Bent Yogi. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I'll see you on your mat.